The child embodies our ultimate vision, that every Filipino learner will realize their full potential and ultimately reach their biggest dreams, no matter how high, no matter how hard, through quality education. And as our learners aim to soar, we must continue to elevate our goals. Rising, the kite is our emblem of aspiration to deliver the brand of quality in Philippine basic education. The quadrants of the soaring kite symbolize the key reform areas in forwarding this cause, as we embark on this aggressive reform to yield upskilled teachers, well-developed curriculum, improved learning environment, and responsive multi-stakeholder cooperation. Using the colors of our flag, the logo symbolizes our unity and serves as a reminder that it takes a nation to educate a child. Together, we as a nation will have to move forward and gain more momentum so that our vision of quality basic education for all shall take flight. Sama-sama sa pagsulong ng edukalidad.
Well, hello, Mrs. Morgan. Remember how hard it was to get your students' attention? Oh, Mr. Jeski. Any explosive ideas? And you, Mr. Fisher, the world keeps turning, right? Okay, we're past all that, because now we have Microsoft Educator Center. Trainings, courses, webinars, programs, badges, points, certificates. Join now and get yourself ready for the new school year. Teach your best.
Nang sumiklab ang giyera sa Marawi, maraming buhay at kabuhayan ang nawala. Maraming kabahayan at paaralan ang napinsala. Sa kabila ng matinding suliranin, naging matagumpay ang DepEd na mabigyan ang mga mag-aaral ng pagkakataong ipagpatuloy ang edukasyon at muling bumangon sa sitwasyon. Habang naghihintay sa pagkumpuni at pagsasaayos ng mga paaralan, nagkaloob ang DepEd ng mga temporary learning shelters, remedial classes, learning kits, at feeding programs para sa mga displaced learners. Nabigla ang lahat sa pag-alboruto ng Bulkang Taal. Libo-libong pamilya, kabilang ang mga guro at mag-aaral, ang nawalan ng tirahan at mga ari-arian. Mabilis ang naging tugon ng DepEd upang makapagpatuloy sa pag-aaral ang mga apektadong mag-aaral. Sinikap ng mga guro na turuan ang mga mag-aaral na pansamantalang tumuloy sa evacuation center. Tumama sa bansa ang COVID-19 pandemic, dahilan upang maantala ang normal na daloy ng pamumuhay at trabaho sa lahat ng sektor, kabilang na ang kagawaran ng edukasyon. Nang ipatupad ang Luzon lockdown, inilunsad ang DepEd Commons upang tuloy ang pagkatuto ng mga learners habang nasa bahay. Sa kabila ng mabigat na hamon sa ilalim ng new normal, patuloy na nagpunyagi ang DepEd upang maghanap at maghatid ng mga alternatibong pamamaraan upang magpatuloy ang edukasyon sa pinakaligtas at pinakaangkop na paraan. Sa ilalim ng Learning Continuity Plan, layunin ng DepEd na magpatuloy ang edukasyon nang hindi nakokompromiso ang kapakanan at kalusugan ng mga guro at mag-aaral. Isusulong ng DepEd ang tatlong pangunahing layunin: angkop na proteksyon, kaugnay ng mga health standards at safety protocols para sa ligtas na school year, patuloy na edukasyon sa pamamagitan ng blended learning, distance learning at homeschooling na angkop sa kapasidad ng bawat mag-aaral, at mabisang aksyon sa pakikipagtulungan sa lokal na pamahalaan at mga partner organizations upang maihatid ang dekalidad na edukasyon para sa lahat. Bawat DepEd Division ay bumuo rin ng sarili nilang Learning Continuity Plan upang gabayan ang mga guro, mga magulang at mga mag-aaral sa bagong pamamaraan ng pag-aaral gamit ang online, modular at TV and radio-based instructions. Gamit ang iba't ibang learning modalities, nagdaos ng dry run ang mga paaralan sa iba't ibang bahagi ng bansa, katuwang ang mga local government units at mga education partners upang maging handa sa bagong sistema ng edukasyon. Isinagawa rin ang mga pagsasanay at oryentasyon sa mga magulang upang maging epektibong katuwang sa pag-aaral ng kanilang mga anak. Sa anumang hamon o sitwasyon, handa ang DepEd. Handang kumilos, handang tumugon, at handang magserbisyo.
Ang dami ng mga pagsusubok at challenges ang naharap at napagtagumpayan ng ating Department of Education. Tuwing may pagsusubok, priority palagi natin ang ating learners at ang ating mga teachers sa tulong ng parents at saka partners at ang buong bansa. Ngayon, sa hinaharap natin itong new normal na sinasabi nila, matatag ang ating kagawaran, matatag ang DepEd dahil pinagtibay na tayo ng panahon. Kayang-kaya natin ito sa tulong ninyo.
G'day everyone, I'm Mark. As a teacher and a former principal, I know that professional learning often comes at the end of a very long day. But there are exciting, less structured ways to be in the driver's seat of your own lifelong learning. A great place to start is by engaging with our Microsoft Innovative Educator, or MIE community. This global community is big, in fact it's enormous. Our MIEs love connecting. Monthly tweet meets are global gatherings of inspiring educators around big topics, and their Facebook group acts as a persistent home for discussions and shared activities. Another way teachers are learning within communities is through Microsoft Teams. Now, greater teacher collaboration improves teaching across schools, and Teams is the ultimate platform for a professional learning community. It's open-walled and socially embedded, so you can incorporate your OneNote Staff Notebook PLC and have access to all the goodness of video chat, phone, and collaboration tools. With Immersive Reader built in, it's inclusive and accessible on any device. Your learning community is just a click away. Last tip, our Microsoft Education Centre offers great ways to gain new skills with courses tailored uniquely to your needs. Make it a collaborative experience by picking a MEC course to do together with your peers. And as a bonus, you can practice collaborative learning by exploring a research paper, like the Class of 2030, and treat it just like a book club with your colleagues face-to-face or in Teams. The link to that research, it's in the description. Remember, learning is socially embedded. It's best done together for students and for teachers. Happy learning.
2020 brought new beginnings for the Department of Education. Ready to pivot towards attaining quality education, DepEd was hopeful of the challenges ahead of it. But as DepEd continued to work on its commitment, the world suddenly faced a steeper dilemma. Around the globe, countries like the Philippines had to shift their priorities to respond to a public health crisis brought by COVID-19. Schools had to be closed, activities had to be halted, graduation ceremonies had to be canceled, as people were urged to stay at home. A new normal dawned upon us. As soon as DepEd realized the impact of these disruptions in education, it began to proactively craft its learning continuity plan last April to ensure that learning opportunities will still be available. Consulting with partners and advisors through the Education Forum, as well as legislators, teachers, parents, learners, and the general public, DepEd made sure its LCP encompasses the concerns of the whole education sector in responding to the crisis. Its topmost priority being the protection of the health, safety, and well-being of learners, teachers, and personnel. To make informed decisions, DepEd first analyzed relevant data and epidemiological picture for the incoming school year. DepEd also issued guidelines on its required health standards to be adopted in all public and private schools and DepEd offices following DOH and IATF protocols. It covers 4 COVID-19 mitigation objectives, namely, to increase physical and mental resilience, reduce transmission, reduce contact, and reduce duration of infection. The LCP also outlined how learning continuity will be ensured. It streamlines the K-12 curriculum into the most essential learning competencies and allows the use of distance learning, homeschooling, and blended learning modalities. Since conducting face-to-face classes will be a risk in most areas, DepEd has anchored its delivery of education to modular, online, TV and radio, or a combination of all. Guided by teachers, modular learning will allow learners to use self-learning modules in a format applicable to learners' capacity. In online distance learning, teachers will facilitate and engage learners' participation through the internet, whether synchronous or asynchronous. TV and radio-based instructions, on the other hand, are converted lessons fit for the broadcast medium. The LCP assures that all our learners, including our SPED, ALS, Madrasa students, can still access education even within the confines of their homes, and ensures that their household capacity will not hinder their right to education. To make this possible, our joint Brigada Eskwela and Oplan Balik Eskwela is assisting the preparations for the rollout of the LCP. On May 8, the LCP was approved by the IATF. The President also gave it his full support and expressed his commitment to meeting the financial demands of its execution. The implementation of the LCP will not be easy. It is not a perfect plan, and complications can be expected along the way. But extraordinary times call for extraordinary and proactive measures, and the Department of Education is ready to address the challenges along the way with the help of our national and local government, partners, parents, and learners. As one nation, learning opportunities shall be available in this brave new world for our Filipino children.
When you need the focus to be on you and not whatever that guy's doing, open Teams.
Subukan mo! Tutal na wasak na naman namin ang lahat ng ari-arian nyo!
Sa totoong buhay, totoo ang pinsala ng giyera. Mula noon hanggang ngayon. Para limitahan ang kalupitan ng giyera, nagkaisa ang mga bansa 70 taon na ang nakalipas upang itaguyod ang Geneva Conventions. Ang Geneva Conventions ay kinikilala ng buong mundo bilang bahagi ng international humanitarian law na nagtatakda ng mga patakaran ng giyera o the rules of war. Ayon dito, huwag gawing target ang mga sibilyan at kanilang mga ari-arian. Tratuhin sa makataong paraan ang mga nabilanggo at protektahan ng mga doktor, nurse at mga ospital para paglingkuran ang mga sugatan at may sakit saan man panig sila nagmula. Alamin ang Geneva Conventions. Bisitahin ang www.therulesofwar.org.
Hi guys, so I just came from a meeting and I was just told that I would be leading this fundraising concert for International Students Day. And I have to present the plan to the school board next week. Okay, I'm going to need some help. Let me create a team space and invite my dream team. Sia, she knows all about the budgeting and stuff. Ivan, he knows all the kids from the performing arts group. Aisha, she worked on getting sponsorship last year. And Sam, because he's so cute. Let me lay out all tasks in Planner and kick things off. So, I'm almost done with my event concept and inspiration board. I just need Ivan to do some final tweaks and plug in the repertoire. Budget from Sia? Check. Sponsorship plan? Check. Done! Whew! When you start using Microsoft Teams, teamwork really does become easier. So now I'm heading over to present the plan to the school board. Wish me luck!
De Luna,
Present!
Herrera,
Present!
Valera.
Present!
Handa ba tayo sa school year 2020?
Present!
Ngayong taon, ang edukasyon tuloy pa rin. Sa tulong ng DepEd, mga guro at mga magulang, ang handang isip, handa bukas. Tuloy-tuloy ang pag-aaral. May mga modules para sa iba't ibang antas. Sa government TV, maging sa radyo. Mahalagang ligtas ang ating mga estudyante at guro. Kaya kahit nasa bahay, tuloy ang edukasyon. Kung tulong-tulong, may paraan, may aralan.
Handang isip, handa bukas.
Bisitahin ang DepEd Philippines sa Facebook at ang deped.gov.ph.
If you spend more time tracking down files than actually working on them, open Teams.
Handa ka na bang magpabakuna? Narito ang mga paalala at hakbang na gagawin sa proseso ng pagbabakuna. Bago ang pagbabakuna, kinakailangan mo nang dumaan sa pre-vaccination screening. Kinakailangan kumuha muna ng medical clearance sa doktor ang mga kabilang sa special population tulad ng mga sumusunod. May autoimmune disease, may cancer, may HIV, sumasailalim sa transplant operation, kasalukuyang umiinom ng steroids, mga pasyenteng may taning na ang buhay dahil sa karamdaman o nakaratay na lang sa kama o bahay. Kapag ikaw ay nabigyan na ng medical clearance mula sa iyong doktor, narito ang mga dapat gawin bago ang araw ng iyong pagbabakuna. 1. Humingi ng schedule at lugar kung saan ka magpapabakuna sa iyong pinakamalapit na barangay health center. 2. Huwag kalimutan dali ng iyong government ID, proof of comorbidity o medical clearance, pati na ang face mask, face shield at hand sanitizer. Sa araw ng pagbabakuna, narito ang mga steps na dapat sundin. Step 1. Waiting area. Siguraduhin kayo ay pumunta sa tamang oras at petsa ng inyong schedule sa pagbabakuna. Hindi papayagan ang mga walk-in sa vaccination sites. Maupo sa bakanting upuan alinsunod sa tamang pagkakasunod na bilang. Hintayin na tawagin kayo para sa susunod na hakbang. Habang nag-aantay, sumunod sa minimum public health standards. Isuot ang face mask at face shield, sundin ang proper physical distancing at ugaliing maghugas at isanitize ang kamay. Step 2. Registration. Sundin ang mga patakaran ng inyong LGU o vaccination site sa pag-register at ipakita ang inyong government ID. Bibigyan kayo ng kopya ng informed consent form, health screening form at mga pamphlet tungkol sa bakuna na pwede ninyong basahin. Hintayin na matapos ang proseso ng registration bago pumunta sa susunod na hakbang. Step 3. Screening. Kayo ay isa sa ilalim sa health screening at tatanungin tungkol sa inyong kalusugan tulad ng history of COVID-19 exposure, history of vaccination, mga gamot na iniinom, kung may allergies at iba pa. Ito ay para makasiguro kung angkop para sa inyo ang magpabakuna sa kasalukuyan. Step 4. Health education. Makinig sa ibabahaging importanteng impormasyon tungkol sa pagbabakuna para sa COVID-19. Kung mayroon pa kayong ibang katanungan, sumangguni sa ating mga vaccination staff. Siguraduhin na pirmahan ang consent form na pumapayag kayong magpabakuna bago pumunta sa susunod na hakbang. Step 5. Vaccine administration. Ito ang panahon kung saan kayo ay babakunahan sa loob ng 1 o 2 minuto. Huwag kalimutan na kunin ang inyong vaccination card pagkatapos matanggap ang bakuna. Step 6. Observation. Alinsunod sa Department of Health, ang lahat na magpapabakuna ay kailangan manatili sa pasilidad ng 15 hanggang 30 minuto para obserbahan kung may hindi magandang nararamdaman. Ang ating medical staff ay nakatutok sa inyo para ma-monitor ang inyong kalusugan. Bibigyan kayo ng mga pangalan ng health facility o hotline kung saan pwedeng pumunta kung kinakailangan sumangguni dahil sa side effects ng bakuna. Pagkatapos ng pagbabakuna, huwag kalimutang gawin ang mga sumusunod. 1. Itanong ang mga nais mong malaman tungkol sa vaccine na binigay sa'yo. 2. Huwag kalimutan ang iyong vaccination card. 3. Alamin ang petsa ng second dose ng iyong pagbabakuna. 4. Kunin ang contact number o alamin kung sino ang dapat tawagan kung sakali mang ikaw ay nakadarama ng seryosong side effects. Narito rin ang ibang mga paalala na dapat tandaan. Siguraduhin bumalik sa schedule para sa pangalawang dose ng bakuna. Laging tatandaan na kahit nabakunahan ka na, ay huwag pa rin kalimutan sumunod sa minimum public health standards tulad ng pagsasanitize ng mga kamay, pagsusuot ng face mask at face shield, at pagdistansya sa iba ng 1 metro. Magmask, hugas, iwas, airflow. Ito ay para na rin sa ating proteksyon at sa proteksyon ng iba. Narito ang pagkakasunod-sunod ng mga eligible population na target mabakunahan. Para sa karagdagang impormasyon, bisitahin ang mga sumusunod na pages. Facebook, Official DOH Gov. Twitter, @DOHGovPH. Website, doh.gov.ph. Tara na sa Bida Vacunation!
The COVID-19 pandemic has brought unprecedented changes to our usual ways of living. But the Department of Education remains unfazed by these challenges to fulfill the mission of Sulong Edukalidad, the rallying call for national effort to deliver quality basic education to all Filipinos, which involve aggressive reforms in the 4 key areas: the K-12 curriculum review and update, improving the learning environment, teachers upskilling and reskilling, engagement of stakeholders for support and collaboration to move forward together as we prepare the education system for the future. The call for Sulong Edukalidad will continue, and we have built the framework of the Basic Education Learning Continuity Plan, or the BELCP, to put the needs of the learners at top priority. DepEd's BELCP is the major response and commitment to protect the health, safety, and well-being of learners, teachers, and personnel. The plan aims to provide opportunities to continue education even in these trying times, with a BELCP in place, supported by unprecedented number of diverse stakeholders from the academe, media, industry groups, NGOs, business and private individuals, Sulong Edukalidad will be able to sustain the aims in its reform for quality basic education. In our journey towards quality education, we have established the 4 pillars of aggressive reforms from the start, and we have been continuing to progress in these pillars. In improving the learning environment, we took action in the construction and rehabilitation of school buildings, ensured the availability of learning materials and equipment, and prioritized our last mile schools. The challenges of the pandemic also brought to light the urgent need to upgrade our ICT infrastructure to service the needs of education. In terms of the teachers upskilling and reskilling, we were able to establish more innovative professional standards for teachers and school heads. We have aligned the professional development of teachers with their career progression to track their development as part of the National Educators Academy of the Philippines transformation. With the launch of the Education Futures program, where we will be focusing on innovative actions and solutions to improve the state of our education, we are now more than ready to start a new journey and continue our fight for quality education for all Filipino learners. Finally, we've given high importance to the engagement of stakeholders for support and collaboration. In support of this, we have convened the Philippine Forum for Accessible Quality Basic Education, or the Education Forum, which leverage other partnerships for education quality and strengthen partnership with the Philippine Normal University as the country's National Center for Teacher Education. The department has also been developing a professional development program for teachers and school leaders in order to equip them with the skills, materials, and data that will allow them to help their students prepare for PISA 2022. This intervention consists of the following components: online training for teachers and school leaders, development of learning materials and practice tests for students, deepening the analysis of the PISA 2018 results, and supporting school-level action research. Now that the year is about to end, our commitment to Sulong Edukalidad will continue and will be far from being gone. With a lot at stake, considering our new knowledge and experience from this year's challenges, we are equipped to face a new future. As we head on to the future where we will face many challenges and uncertainties, the department will always be the guardian of every Filipino learner's right to education.
Sino ba ang hindi naapektuhan? Sino ba ang hindi nag-alala? Sino ba ang hindi nalito? Lahat tayo ay naapektuhan. Lahat tayo ay nag-aalala. Lahat tayo ay nalito. Dahil binago ng pandemyang dulot ng COVID-19 ang paraan ng pamumuhay ng lahat ng mga Pilipino saan mang sektor ka nabibilang. Tumigil ang panandalian ang ating mga nakagawian. Tumigil ang lahat ng uri ng transaksyon. Tumigil ang lahat ng operasyon ng mga paaralan. Nakalilito. Nakakaba. Paano na ang kinabukasan ng mga kabataan? Paano na tayo sa hinaharap? Opisyal na nilulunsad ng Kagawaran ng Edukasyon sa pangunguna ng Office of the Undersecretary for Curriculum and Instruction ang DepEd Teaches Ito ay isang online na programa na gagabay sa mga guro, tagapangasiwa, magulang at mag-aaral hinggil sa mga pagbabago sa batayang edukasyon ngayong new normal. Ang DepEd Teaches ay angkla sa sulong edukalidad na nakatuon sa apat na pangunahing pangangailangan ng mapunyaging reforma tungo sa makalidad na pagtuturo at pagkatuto. Una, pagre-review at pagsasapanahon ng kurikulum ng K-12. Ikalawa, pagpapaunlad ng kapaligiran pampagkatuto. Ikatlo, paglinang ng mga bagong kasanayan sa mga guro. At ang ikaapat, ang pakikipag-ugnay sa mga stakeholder para sa suporta at kolaborasyon. Sa pamamagitan ng virtual learning platform, ang DepEd Teaches ang magsisilbing bukas na komunidad ng pagsasanay na titipon sa mga guro, tagapamunong pang-edukasyon at sa sinumang may pagnanais sa pagtataguyod ng kalidad na edukasyon sa bansa at sa pagtagumpay ng bawat Pilipinong mag-aaral. Ang mga opisyal, education specialist, learning content expert at outstanding teacher ng DepEd ang magiging tagapanayam na magbabahagi ng kanilang kaalaman at kasanayan sa kurikulum, pagtuturo at pagkatuto, pagtataya at lahat ng kaugnay na mahalaga sa proseso ng pagtuturo at pagkatuto sa new normal. Bilang mga frontliner ng classroom, inaasahang magiging aktibo ang mga guro sa programang ito. Ang mga tema at paksa ay angkop sa kanilang pangangailangan at konteksto sa pamamagitan ng accessible na platform, ang social media. Sumali na sa OUCI family sa DepEd Teaches, kung sama-sama mapahuhusay pa ang mga guro, kung sama-sama higit na malilinang natin ang mga mag-aaral.
Time flies so fast. We are now on the second half of 2021 as we enter today, the month of July. A pleasant afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another learning episode here in DepEd Teaches. We welcome all our viewers who are tuning in right now on our official media accounts, the DepEd Philippines Facebook page, DepEd Tayo, and also our DepEd YouTube channel and the DepEd Teaches Facebook account. Last week, we already opened a new theme which is about instructional planning, delivery, and assessment. We hope that you gained so much insight on our episode on cross-curricular integrative assessment. Good afternoon, Ma'am Ana. What do you think about our theme and our new episode today?
Good afternoon to everyone. Good afternoon, Sir July. Well, this theme is not new for us because we had similar separate discussions before on the areas of instruction, delivery, and assessment. But for this new theme, we combine all these areas in the curriculum to focus more on the common issues and challenges experienced by our teachers. So last week, just like you mentioned, we talked about how to promote academic ease through integrative assessment. And for today, it is another equally important topic that needs thorough discussion, and that is about the unpacking and subtasking, the most essential learning competencies. Now, speaking of unpacking, Sir July, why do you think this topic is important? I mean, why can't just the teacher copy the MELC? Okay, why do we need to unpack and subtask the MELCs?
Well, Ma'am Ana, for me, unpacking and subtasking of standards and competencies is a very important activity or also a crucial skills that teachers need to instructional planning. If teachers know how to unpack the standards and competencies, that means that they have good understanding of our curriculum. Unpacking is like translating the intended curriculum into classroom instructions specifically on planning the objectives, activities, and assessments for our learners. This process helps our educators to zero in on the most essential things for instruction.
I couldn't agree more. I think unpacking is like a bridge that serves between the intended curriculum, just like what you said, and the implemented curriculum. And so we can say that through unpacking and subtasking the milk, it is an essential step indeed in planning and designing daily instructions. But then probably this process might be a bit difficult, especially for our neophytes and during this time that we are using milk. So it's better that we review and we learn how to unpack the curriculum or the standards.
Certainly correct, Ma'am Ana. And we are blessed today that we have a very good resources speaker who will explain the steps and share some of the tips on how to do the unpacking. But before having that, let's have a jumping board activity while we are still waiting for our other viewers to join us. Today, we will play a vocabulary game. Ma'am Ana, could you explain the mechanics of this activity?
All right. So we will show four statements, just like what we've been doing in the past. And you have to analyze the underlined phrase, and replace it with an appropriate idiom that best captures the meaning of the underlined phrase. So the sentence is about our topic today, which is unpacking the milk. And your answer should be an idiomatic expression. That's why we call it a vocabulary game. Don't worry, we choose the easy ones. So we are confident that you can guess the correct idiom or give us the correct answer.
Okay, let me reiterate that, Ma'am Ana, for our viewers. We have four questions, and our viewers just need to guess the idiom based on the meaning of the underlined phrase in the sentence we will be giving to them. And we are also giving them 30 seconds for each of the question. So I hope everyone is ready now. So Ma'am Ana, let's begin our activity.
All right, okay. So for the first question, let us show the card. Okay, so is unpacking the milk an easy and simple task for you? Is unpacking the milk an easy and simple task for you? So the underlined phrase is easy and simple task. What do you think is the correct idiom? You can see the picture on the screen. This will serve as your clue for you to guess the correct idiom. 30 seconds start now. All right, so let's reveal the answer. Okay, so the correct answer is a piece of cake. And I saw some answers from our viewers. So indeed, item number 1 is just a piece of cake. Okay, but I wonder if you agree with that statement that unpacking the milk is just a piece of cake, or it's just an easy and simple task. And if not, maybe feel free to share in the comment section why you think that unpacking the milk is not a piece of cake, but rather it's a difficult task. It's something that you still need to practice and master. Okay? So for the next statement, Sir July.
Okay, that was a good first item, Ma'am Ana. And now for our second question, let us show them on the screen. Have you been writing your lesson plan the same old-fashioned way that you are unable to change and try new things, like unpacking the curriculum first before planning? So once again, have you been writing your lesson plan the same old-fashioned way that you are unable to change and try new things, like unpacking the curriculum first before planning. So the underlined phrase is you are unable to change and try new things. So what do you think the possible idiom these represent? There's also a hint, an illustration being shown there. Okay, so let us give our audience, our viewers, 30 seconds to write in their answer. Okay, so here is now the answer for question number 2. The correct idiom to replace the underlined phrase is the phrase, you cannot teach an old dog new trick. Okay, so I hope you are familiar with this idiom. This describes people who used to doing things in a certain way and who cannot learn or does not want to learn a new way. So as 21st century teachers, we have to be agile and open-minded to embrace the changes and learn new things. And like what we said in the unpacking of curriculum, it's not a new topic, but still there are some who find it challenging. So we should take this opportunity to relearn.
All right. Okay. So that's a good one. Okay. I just want a special mention to our viewers like Maria Lourdes Rosario. She answered the 2 statements correctly. I mean, she's the first one who appeared on the live comment section. And so for our other viewers, we encourage you to actively participate in this activity. Okay. So let us show now the third statement. Okay. So for the third item, if you can start unpacking the curriculum after this episode, then it's a good success indicator that the learning outcomes have been achieved. Once again, if you can start unpacking the curriculum or the MELC right after this episode, then it's a good success indicator that our learning outcomes have been achieved. So the underlying phrase here is a good success indicator. What do you think is the correct idiom that will best represent or replace the underlying phrase? 30 seconds begin now. Okay, so let us show them the correct answer. Right? Were you able to get it? So the correct answer is an acid test or a crucial test, something that proves something, the value of something, okay? So application of the thought concept is an acid test if we have successfully met the objectives. Just like in learning, we are not just satisfied for students to remember the concept, but we want transferability or application of the thought concept. Okay, so the answer is an acid test.
All right, so for our fourth and last question, so please flash on the screen now the question. If you fail for the first time in unpacking the curriculum, you can start all over again and watch again DepEd Teaches to relearn this topic. Once again, if you fail for the first time in unpacking the curriculum, you can start all over again and watch again DepEd Teaches to relearn this topic. So the underlined phrase is you can start all over again. So what do you think the possible idiom this underlined phrase represent? So please answer now for 30 seconds. All right, so we can now reveal the answer for question number 4. The correct answer is back to the drawing board. So this means that you have to start over again. It's natural that it's bit trial and error method, especially for beginners. But this should not hinder us from trying it again until we have mastered the skill, specifically for unpacking and subtasking the standards and competencies. And so, to recap the idioms that we learned today, so we have first, piece of cake, acid test, you can teach an old dog new tricks, and back to the drawing board. So we hope you enjoyed our short vocabulary game. Then moving on, at this juncture now, let us introduce our resource speaker, Ma'am Ana.
Okay, so with great pride and honor, I am here to introduce to you our speaker. She is an epitome of a woman who values leadership, professionalism, and love for work in the Department of Education. She hailed from San Pablo Season, Surigao del Norte. She graduated her Master in Education at Cebu State College of Science and Technology, Cebu City, and Doctor of Philosophy in Educational Management at St. Paul University, Surigao. She is a living she is a living idiom of a leader who excels in her skills and talents and dares to make a difference in the lives of those around her. Tough decisions are always expected of her. Thus, she equipped herself with educational qualifications that will aid her professional growth to achieve success in all her endeavors. She passed the different examinations from different ladders from professional board exam for teachers, educational management tests, and different levels and position of a career executive service officer, of which she became CESO 4 on February 6, 2020. She gained innovative ideas from her scholarships and educational trainings. Few of them were the school's Division Superintendent's Leadership Training Program, Salamin Diwa, Gabay, and Management Development Program. She was a recipient of different scholarship programs here and abroad. Among these countries are Australia, Taiwan, and South Korea. The wisdom that she got from these hard-earned trainings and scholarship grants paved the way to let her achieve exceptional accomplishments.
Her journey in the Department of Education always leaves a trail of pride. From her first job as an institutional officer at the Farm Systems Development Corporation to teacher 1, head teacher 3, to principal 2, then an education program supervisor, to an assistant schools division superintendent, a superintendent, and then assistant regional director, and finally to a regional director, had created a blaze that is worthy of emulation. She is always in pursuit of realizing the DepEd's mission and vision. She always encourages the teachers, supervisors, and leaders and other personnel of the department to be always dedicated and committed to their calling and inspire them to be truly oriented with the great responsibilities expected of them. With an impressive background, she is not only a successful leader, but a public servant and mentor, a wife to Sir Leicester Fetalvero, a mother to seasoned Municipal Mayor Carissa, Mac Lester, Krista, John Lester, and Krishi. She successfully portrayed these different roles that give her a sense of fulfillment. With her recent leadership she upholds the integrity and honor in the Department of Education, CARAGA Region. Ladies and gentlemen, I am very much privileged to introduce to you the Regional Director of DepEd CARAGA, Director Evelyn R. Fetalvero.
Good day, everyone. Welcome to another episode of DepEd Teaches. I am Evelyn R. Fetalvero, Director 4 of DepEd CARAGA, and I will be your learning buddy for today's topic on strategies in unpacking and subtasking the most essential learning competencies appropriate for distance delivery modalities. Mga magtutudlo, ali na ug magkat-on kita. For today's episode on DepEd Teaches, we will define what most essential learning competency is and what do we mean when we say unpacking of competencies. We will also identify various techniques for unpacking the MELCs, and we will unpack a MELC to create focused learning skills and contents appropriate for the distance learning delivery modalities. Before we will dive into our learning objectives, we have to be reminded that it is a primary concern for all teachers and education leaders to be able to understand the curricular framework of the department. This includes the understanding of the various standards such as program standards, grade level standards, content standards, and performance standards. In this session, we will focus on content and performance standards and how these standards, together with the learning competencies, are unpacked or subtasted to help teachers deliver the contents effectively at the context of the basic education learning continuity plan. When competencies are decluttered, teachers will be able to design appropriate instruction and assessment. Now, let us talk about the MELCs. In the light of the pandemic, the Department of Education has streamlined the learning competencies into most essential learning competencies. According to the guidelines on the use of the most essential learning competencies, or MELCs, the learning competencies in the curriculum guide were either retained, merged, dropped, or rephrased. The descriptor called endurance is the primary determining factor. A learning competency is considered enduring if it remains with learners long after a test or unit of study is completed, or if it is useful beyond a single test or unit of study. The MELCs are relevant because they address the challenges of the current pandemic, but it is also part of DepEd's long-term response to the call of SDG 4 to develop resilient education systems. MELCs also enable DepEd to focus instruction to the most essential and indispensable competencies that our learners must acquire, and it converts classroom-oriented learning resources into learning resources adapted to the distance learning. But how do we use the most essential learning competencies? The MELCs found in the matrix downloadable at DepEd Commons cannot just be laid directly into the self-learning materials lesson plans, weekly home learning plans, simply because MELCs are broad and complex. There are even MELCs that are too technical and thus difficult to communicate to our learners and stakeholders. Even teachers find the MELCs confusing if they are not unpacked. When we say unpacking of competency, it refers to a technique teachers can use to make sense of standards and then create focused learning targets to make them actionable and measurable. This process is also known as deconstructing or unwrapping in some references, researches, or even in view of the pedagogical trainings you have attended. When we unpack the MELCs, we can organize the contents and skills to be delivered until we meet the required content and performance standards. To do this, first, we have to refer to our MELCs and carefully read and analyze three things: the content standard, the performance standard, and the most essential learning competencies. In the presentation, we will use the MELC in grade 8 science. Our chosen standard is the learners demonstrate understanding of the characteristics of comets, meteors, and asteroids. Our performance standard is the learner should be able to discuss whether or not beliefs and practices about comets and meteors have scientific basis. And our most essential learning competency is compare and contrast comets, meteors, and asteroids. After getting your MELC, we need to look for the signal words for knowledge, skills, and conditions to attain our standards and competencies. Usually, knowledge are represented by nouns, while the skills are represented by verbs. Take note that in this slide, words are underlined to represent the signal words: red for knowledge, blue for skills, and green for conditions. By analyzing our matrix, the signal words for knowledge are characteristics, comets, meteors, and asteroids. These are the important contents that the learners must understand. The signal words for skills are discuss and compare and contrast. These are the important skills that the learners can perform while dealing with the required knowledge. Lastly, the condition is whether or not the beliefs and practices about comets and meteors have scientific basis. This condition extends the required knowledge for this competency. The next step involves the development of learning objectives which target the signal words. These focused learning objectives are the unpacked or subtask competencies. In deconstructing the MELCs, we have to arrange the unpacked competencies from simple to complex, or from lower cognitive levels to higher cognitive levels. We can do this by considering the prerequisite skills and knowledge. For example, learners cannot just compare and contrast or even discuss the comets, meteors, and asteroids if learners have no idea about their characteristics. To resolve this, we have to apply the concept of the different cognitive levels preferred by Bloom and enhanced by Anderson and Krathwohl. Note that the skills indicated in the MELC, which are compare and contrast, are in the analysis level. Other skill required by the performance standard, which is discussed, is located in understanding level. To achieve this, we have to carefully construct the learning objectives, targeting the prerequisite contents and skills. So, try to create unpacked competencies starting from remembering level 1 to analysis level. Applying step number 3, we have now the unpacked competencies. Name the MELC, compare and contrast comets, meteors, and asteroids. Learners must first identify the characteristics of comets, meteors, and asteroids. Then, they will debunk superstitions about comets, meteors, and asteroids according to scientific basis. Learners will also try to sketch the location of comets, meteors, and asteroids in the solar system. And finally, they will compare and contrast comets, meteors, and asteroids using the Venn diagram. you will notice that there is increasing complexity of required skills and contents as the cognitive levels progress from low-order thinking skills to higher-order thinking skills. Regardless of the learning delivery modalities, content standards should not be compromised. Whether your school is implementing modular, online, radio or TV-based instruction, blended or homeschooling, the required contents and skills in the most essential learning competencies should be attained. So how can we make our unpacked learning competencies appropriate to the various distance learning delivery modalities? Well, in unpacking the most essential learning competencies appropriate to the various learning delivery modalities, we have to put in our mind that each of the distance learning delivery modalities have different learning delivery styles, and this entails different learner engagement from exploring the contents of the learning materials and answering their assessment. So, even if the content standards, performance standards, and MELCs are fixed, unpacking of competencies must primarily put the school, learners, and community context at the center. To put this in perspective, the learning tests for printed modular distance learning may not be the same for radio-based instruction, even if they share the same standards. This leads us to step number 4. Plan on your learning activities according to the unpacked competencies and implemented distance learning delivery modality. We may also have to design our unpacked learning competencies based on the budgeted week that can be found in the 4th column of our MELC matrix. Take a look of these unpacked competencies for printed modular distance learning. You will notice that the planned learning activities in the 3rd column are designed for learners who will use self-learning modules. Since the MELC is good for 1 week, the number of days from 1 to 5 are distributed to 4 unpacked competencies. The unpacked competencies that you saw in the previous slide are now associated to specific and doable learning activities. Take note that the signal words for knowledge, skills, and condition are also found in the activities appropriate for printed modular distance learning. So for this example, our learning activity for the unpacked competency under remembering level, identify the characteristics of comets, meteors, and asteroids, is that learners will match the characteristics of comets, meteors, and asteroids to their corresponding illustrations for the unpacked competency level, which is debunk superstitions about comets, meteors, and asteroids. The learning activity is that learners will discuss which of the beliefs and practices about comets, meteors, and asteroids have scientific basis. For the unpacked competency under applying level, which is sketch the location of comets, meteors, and asteroids in the solar system, learners will draw the comets, meteors, and asteroids in their locations in the solar system. Finally, for the unpacked learning competency under analyzing level, which is compare and contrast comets, meteors, and asteroids using a Venn diagram. Learners will compare and contrast comets, meteors, and asteroids using a Venn diagram. All these activities will be done by the learners using their modules. Again, these activities are doable in modular distance learning, but not so in radio-based learning. This is to underscore the importance of designing our unpacked competencies at the context of the implemented distance learning delivery modalities. In DepEd CARAGA, we have unpacked all most essential learning competencies, creating a budget of work from kindergarten to senior high school. These unpacked competences for all subjects were given to all teachers through the issuance of Regional Memorandum Number 294 Series of 2020, also known as Availability of the Budget of Work on the Most Essential Learning Competencies. I am sure that you also have your initiated activities regarding the unpacking of the standards. But in case you need one, I am confident that you can now unpack your most essential learning competency. If you want to learn further about the topic, plenty of references are available from DepEd and other reliable sources. That ends my episode for today. I hope you have learned something from our topic. This is your Regional Director from the historic and beautiful region of Caraga, expressing my gratitude for staying with me in this episode of DepEd Teaches.
Thank you so much, Director Evelyn Fetalvero, for sharing the concrete steps and strategies on how to unpack the most essential learning competencies. A very explicit and clear presentation. Thank you for sharing your expertise. I hope our teachers gained a clear example now of unpacking the competencies, which is useful in planning instruction or preparing the modules or online lessons. Just keep on sharing your insights here in DepEd Teaches comment section. And more so, you can post as well on your social media accounts like your Facebook personal page and Twitter accounts. Do not forget to use the hashtag I support DepEd Teaches, and hashtag DepEd Teaches episode 26.
If you haven't registered yet, please copy the link on the screen right now. So you need to register once for episodes 25 to 30. For our new viewers, if you haven't followed our Facebook page, don't forget to like and subscribe to our official Facebook page, The DepEd Teaches. Once again, thank you so much for being here with us today. We hope to see you again next week.
This has been another learning episode. On behalf of the curriculum and instruction strand, let's continue learning together, for our lives do not stop teaching us new things. Just like here in DepEd Teaches, our mission is empowering teachers, enabling learners. A blessed afternoon, everyone.